As the industry has started to consolidate away from infrastructure with employees in offices and servers in data centers, more of the environment has started to move toward cloud, and also that means that applications have become the primary focal point of data in the environment. Web applications have become the new perimeter of the enterprise. In the past, we had data centers, firewalls, that was the security perimeter. But more realistically today, web applications have become that perimeter. Attacks against perimeter applications really more common than most people realize. I think a lot of the breaches that we've seen over the last couple of years have come through some variety of application attacks targeting external web applications, whether that's Facebook, whether that's the ERP applications for a business, or anything else that's customer facing or employee facing. These applications are fundamental to what the attackers want out of the organization. They contain the data, they contain the users, they interact with the users. They often provide an avenue to reach data that's deep inside the enterprise.
The need for web application assessments is generally that you don't know what an attacker is looking at, and it's good to have the perspective of an attacker when you're trying to assess the security issues. Just plain and simple.
So fundamentally, companies have two types of applications. They'll have an external application and an internal application. For the external applications, we could think of your WordPress website or any web applications that interact with a customer. That could be something like selling a goods and services to that customer. Those are usually targeted by the adversary because those are mostly accessible to everybody. So the adversary will hit those websites. They'll start probing the website to see what kind of services are being offered, and then they'll try to do things like SQL injection or password guessing. Internal applications are a different set, and they're in the mindset a lot of companies will kind of put that in a firewall VPN and try to hide it from the external world. And those applications are usually compromised through an internal threat. So somebody could breach an external web application, get into the internal network, and then do a lateral propagation and start attacking your internal. And that's what we'll be seeing lately with the ransomware and SQL injection, harvesting user credentials. And then those credentials end up being dumped on the dark web. And that's how a lot of the adversaries grab those credentials on the dark web and start using them against other places like your Google account or your Facebook account.
The goal of a security assessment is to provide vendor agnostic and neutral remediation recommendations so that organizations can better secure their web applications. We believe it's important to be vendor agnostic so that we're not trying to sell a solution with every assessment. Parabellyx is extremely well versed in the OWASP standard, both for testing methodologies and for web application security standards. OWASP, or the Open Web Application Security Project, is a nonprofit organization that helps build and helps organizations understand web application security. Our expertise allows us to have more thorough, more accurate, and more manageable results from web application security testing. Our web application testing deliverable clearly explains web application vulnerabilities and remediation steps. In penetration testing exercises, we work with customers to ensure a minimal impact to the environment, and we work with customers to maximize the value to the organization. Parabellyx begins a web application assessment by understanding the application and what its functionality is. After that, we'll go through a series of tests. It starts with automated testing. That testing helps us understand whether there are certain kinds of vulnerabilities, input validation, and other things that we have to run through in a broad and quick manner because we want to be able to cover the entire scope of the application. After that, we'll go through a series of manual testing to help understand business logic and any risks to the data or the data security in the environment, as well as any other issues that can't be easily discovered by automated vulnerability scanning. This is really important, and I think a lot of organizations may overlook some of the manual testing components. It's an expertise that Parabellyx brings. After that, we work with clients to go through either validating the vulnerabilities or doing penetration testing on those, where we attempt to actually execute some of these to understand the risk to business and data and how attacks might impact customers or impact the safety or security of systems or data. From there, we'll produce a vulnerability report, which is a findings and recommendations report that helps a business understand the findings as well as very clearly understand how to remediate those.